the lane. 15-10. Touchdown, Chargers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of Chargers Weekly presented by Microsoft Surface. As always, joined by Matt Money Smith. Coming off another resounding victory. Chargers on Monday Night Football dominate the Jets 27-6. Second straight win, back at 500. And Money, I imagine the vibes very good after that game at Jet Life Stadium.
Yeah, it was interesting because it's the first time, I've been doing this since 2017 with the team. It's the first time we stayed the night. It was kind of weird. So everyone's back in the hotel and in catering in one of the ballrooms where they had a bunch of food. Even though it was like 12:30, 1 in the morning, everyone's still pretty wired and kind of adrenaline still flowing from the game. So it's just fun to kind of see the guys sort of get together and celebrate, as opposed to just kind of being on the bus, getting on the plane, settling into your seat, probably falling asleep. They're all wrapped up in ice for the trip home. And this was kind of a cool little opportunity to peek as a fly on the wall into these guys being excited about a victory and bonding with one another and kind of hanging out and laughing around the tables. And I think because it was such I don't want to say complimentary football, obviously, because the offense didn't do a whole lot, but they did enough, right? You got big field goals. You got huge first downs when you needed them. You got a pair of touchdowns, or at least you got a touchdown. Technically two, right, with the one-play drive from Austin after Alohi Gilman stepped out of bounds right before scoring on the scoop. So technically two, but the defense played great. Special teams was exceptional. So you really kind of felt that in that room that, hey, this was – we really kind of all pitched in and knocked this thing out. And, for people that were pointing out, oh, it's just the Jets, they stink, 24 punts the week before, well – go ahead and look at the ESPN projections and what their experts thought was going to happen in that game. Look at the NFL Network projections and who they thought was going to win that game. So you want to say it was an easy win. Well, apparently a lot of the people that talk about football for a living and get pretty big checks to do so didn't think it was going to be an easy win, and they thought it was going to be a loss, and the Chargers went out there and absolutely dominated.
They did, and you're right. Everybody picked the Jets to win, and I really don't care who the opponent is. Money, sometimes in a locker room, you need to experience what it's like to win and to win big and to gain confidence. And to come off back-to-back games on a national stage and dominate your opponent. I thought of you immediately when Darius Davis scored on the punt return touchdown because I think as we closed the pod, we said, play from in front, right? They played from in front the entire game. The first 5 minutes of the game, it felt like Zach Wilson in the offense was going to have a hard time scoring 7, right? 7-0 right from the beginning. The defense, I can't say enough about really the pass rush, but I want to start with a guy that I think we talked about last week too. Just Alohi Gilman's presence, man, makes a world of difference on this team, and he showed it from the beginning. You mentioned the scoop up at the end. We'll get into Thule and Bosa and Mack and those guys pinning their ears back, but just the glue guy, Alohi Gilman, I really feel like we felt his presence the last 2 weeks.
No doubt. I think it's a great place to start, Chris, because you see how much better this defense has played since his return. He's such a smart player. He's regularly in the right spot. If there's anything maybe you want to ding him on, it's, the athleticism that they're used to seeing, that you're used to seeing, the explosiveness at a free safety position. Typically, that's a very high-level athlete, a 4'4", sub-4'4" guy that's tracking the football, and that's maybe the one thing that there were some concerns about him up there. Well, he makes up for it with intelligence, with knowing how to use angles, timing. When I worked for the Lakers, and they were, and they went on that run where they went to 3 finals and won 2 titles, this is going to sound terrible, like I'm patting myself on the back, but this is what he reminds me of. I said, you have the stars in Powell and Kobe, and you have some shooters, and you have kind of your leader in Derek Fisher. I said, but just imagine a floor. It's a kitchen floor, and it's all this tile. And what's going to happen to that tile if there's no grout? You have to hold those tiles in place, and that's Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom was the grout for the floor. And it's funny because DJ, I'm sure, probably never heard that. He's not a Laker fan, but when we were doing the game, he said, you know what, Matt, if you're building a house and you've got all these bricks, you know, Joey's a brick and Kenneth Murray's a brick and Khalil Mack's a brick. But, you know, Alohi's the mortar. He's the guy that gets all the bricks to connect. And just go back to the game against the Bears, the timing on that hit that led to the interception from Derwin James. He gets the INT statistic, but Alohi's the one that creates that play. You know, he had a thumper of a hit on that first series that helped set the tone. You know, Joey gets the personal foul penalty, just kind of letting Zach Wilson know, hey, I'm going to be here all day. So I'll take the 15 yards, but just know you're going to see ghosts, and I'm going to remind you of what that ghost feels like when it hits you full speed. So I like that he set the tone there. And I like that Alohi set the tone. Kenneth Murray had a huge hit. And then Derwin James, I mean, damn near broke Breece Hall in half with a hit early on. And I think that set the tone for the defense. It wasn't just the sacks. It wasn't just the turnovers. It was the physicality. It was, you guys better pull up your bootstraps because this thing's going to be nasty today. And we're going to be bringing some serious thump to this game, and you better be ready for it. And I think that certainly affected them.
I think there's something to be said about having fun, too. You hear that a lot the last 2 weeks. Is like, hey, we're getting back to having fun. And when Chargers fans watch this game and they see Thule doing Joey's celebration and Joey doing Thule's celebration and those guys just getting after that offensive line of the Jets, that unit had no shot against this pass rush from the beginning. But, Money, again, a 17-game season is so long. To see these guys having fun and to feel the momentum building. Now, I realize it's a short week and Detroit's coming off a bye, but that momentum is there for the Chargers right now. And you saw it, and you're seeing it in the celebrations and just these guys playing for one another right now.
Well, I'm going to go back 2.5 games, right? And I'm going to go back to the post game from the Chiefs game. This has now been 10 quarters that this defense has been dominant. You know, they allowed just 7 points to the Chiefs in the second half after getting absolutely destroyed and cut to ribbons in that first half for 24 points. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes essentially humiliating them. You know, very similar to the Miami game where they were the object of derision for the national media, even for the local media, you know, and Brandon Staley was a big part of that. This guy's supposed to be a defensive genius. Why do they have one of the worst units in the league? And I think, look, there's pride. If you're going to go out there and you're going to put your body in, you know, in the path of peril like these players do, I can't imagine, you know, how upset you're going to get when people are essentially calling you out for not being a good player, when your elbows and your knees are wrapped in ice and you feel like you've been in a car crash, you know, for the next 48 hours. You know, that can't be pleasant. So I still believe, and I don't know this, it's just my speculation. I believe something happened at halftime of that Kansas City game. I really do. Just by the way the players talked after the game, Michael Davis saying, you know what you're supposed to do against the Chiefs. You got to get after their ass, and we didn't do that, and, you know, we weren't playing zone, and we need to play man. And there was just a lot of pushback from that defense in that post-game locker room because I think you saw something in that second half, and I think it was something that was brought up, you know, in a communal fashion of, hey, let's shift. Let's change things, and let's see if we can find something here because there's too much talent on this team for us to be giving up 150 yards to Justin Jefferson, 215 yards to Tyreek Hill, you know, 100 and whatever yards to CeeDee Lamb. This is stupid. Let's figure this out, you know, and 120 yards to Travis Kelce in the first half. Let's figure this out, and I think you've seen it. I think you've seen them cut loose. They're rushing with 4. They're letting guys play press. Derwin's on the line of scrimmage. There's a lot more aggression from the linebackers, you know, and I think you're seeing that. And like you said, we'll see it against Detroit, one of a top 5 offense in the league. But to me, and look, that's all a big setup to echo what you just said, right? It's now fun. It's now fun for these guys. They believe. They're invested. Hey, look what we're doing. 7 sacks against the Raiders, 8 sacks against the Jets, 2 interceptions against the Bears, 2 strip sacks against the Jets. This is what we're capable of, and this is fun because now we're Now we believe. We believe in what we're doing. We're being celebrated accordingly, and I think Coach is right when he says it. And like you just said, it's a good week of practice, and these guys are having fun.
Yeah, and again, the fact that it did happen on a national stage, back-to-back weeks, the whole nation got to see what this Chargers defense is capable of. 19 points total allowed over the last 2 weeks, but it's going to be a different animal with Jared Goff coming in and Laporta and St. Brown and that Montgomery-Gibbs duo in the backfield, that Lions offensive line. So it's going to be a heck of a test for this Chargers team, which we'll get into in a bit. But holding Breece Hall to, 50 yards, making Zach Wilson throw the ball 49 times. That's a recipe to win. Offensively, you mentioned it. The numbers weren't quite there, but the Jets have done this to a lot of teams, a lot of offenses, a lot of elite quarterbacks, and they knew what the game plan was. Get out in front early, which they did. Run the ball and have kind of Austin Ekeler pace your offense to whatever extent he could, which he did, and rely on Keenan Allen when you have to. And the catch he made to go over 10,000 yards, I want to get to this later, but maybe I'll just mention it now. I don't want to see Keenan Allen ever in another NFL uniform. I think what he's done this year, he's putting up all-pro numbers at his age. I want to see him in a Chargers uniform for life. And I know it's very hard in this day and age in the NFL for that to happen because guys want to continue to play and you get up there and cap number and it's a business. But there's no reason this guy should not be in powder blue for the rest of his career. Break the records, break all the Charger records. He's en route to a Hall of Fame type career, and it's just been awesome to see, especially against the Jets defense where he came alive when he had to. You mentioned the third down conversions, but I feel like this year more than ever really shows to me just what an amazing Charger Keenan Allen has been.
No doubt. Look, I'd echo that, obviously. We all want, the fans always want their heroes to wear nothing but their uniform. And I hope that's the case. And I think Justin Herbert, probably will go a long way in figuring that out, whether or not the team really believes, okay, well, we've invested, $250 million in this guy here. If he says, I need Keenan, then you got to figure out a way to keep him. Problem is, Jerry Rice was a Raider. Jerry Rice was a Bronco. Randy Moss should have been a Viking his whole career. It so rarely happens.
Julio Jones is an Eagle,
Exactly. It's like it's so hard in the NFL because of the hard salary cap. It's a hard cap. You can't go over it. Can't go over it and pay a tax. You have to figure out how to construct a team, and now you have to construct a team with a quarterback that's going to be making $50 million a year. The good news is the cap's going up. It keeps going up because these TV deals keep getting richer and richer. So perhaps that's the case. The thing I'll say about the offense that I think is so important for people that want to pile on and say running game stinks. It was Justin Herbert's worst, stat totals of his career, the 136 yards, the sub 60% passing. Outside of Keenan, you really had nothing in the passing game. What I would say is I tip my cap to Herbert, because when you have that kind of talent, you probably want to force some things. You want to impact the game. You want to put your imprint on it because you're a superstar and it's what's expected of you when you're on Monday Night Football. And for him to take the beating that he took and to just swallow the ball or to throw it away time and time again and not try to force it. He had one throw that he forced, and it should have been an interception, and it wasn't. And I think that was a quick reminder because it had been 2.5 quarters of very little offense, and I think he was just getting a little frustrated, and he cut that one loose, and he realized, okay, that's not the plan. The only way we lose this game is if we turn the ball over and we give them a short field. And he has history as a guide because that's what happened to Patrick Mahomes, and it almost cost the Chiefs the game against the Jets. That's what happened to Josh Allen. The Bills had no business losing that opener, except for Josh Allen just got loose with the football and threw a couple picks and fumbled. The Eagles have one loss on their record. It's to the Jets because Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions. So he had that. I guarantee that's the Kellen Moore pregame conversation. Our defense is good. Our special teams is good. Let's not try to do too much. And you know what? When they needed to, when they got the short field after Joey's strip sack, they cashed it in. Inexplicably, when Nate Hackett is throwing the ball with under a minute left and the Chargers have all 3 of their timeouts at the end of the half, I'm like, what are you doing? Just run the ball. The Chargers will be happy to go into the half at 14-3. So now Justin's like, oh, all right, well, we know, they're not going to get the ball back and score. So this is just free time and a potential free points. And he gets, that huge run for a first down. He gets the huge passes to Keenan Allen to set up a 55-yarder. And now you've empowered your kicker, who is the most accurate kicker through the first 2 seasons of a career, ahead of Justin Tucker at 94%. And he's banging home 55-yarders with 10 yards to spare. So, they did exactly what they had to do to win the game. And I think to ding them for that, I understand. I wish they could run the ball better, and they've got to figure that out. But in this particular game, they did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, this wasn't the game to judge the running game after, and they only had 2 active guys, so I was actually surprised by that, making Spiller inactive and just going with 2 running backs entering the game, because I thought that maybe you could run the football on this team and you would want to kind of spread the wealth a little bit, but they didn't need to. And I remember the conversation that we had going into the Dallas game, Money. We knew that it was going to be a tough stretch going Dallas, Kansas City back-to-back, a short week going to Kansas City. And if they were 2-4, you said, well, hold on a second. You still got Chicago and New York, an opportunity to climb back to 4-4. And that's exactly where we are today, in a completely muddled up AFC right now, where it's really anybody's playoff wildcard spot from 5 to 7. So let's take a quick break, and we'll get into the Detroit Lions on Sunday. All right, guys, a big thank you to our partner, Microsoft Surface, the official sideline technology provider and laptop of the NFL and the Los Angeles Chargers, that provides players and coaches with the tools to succeed both on and off the field. Check out the powerful Surface Pro 9, combining the power of a laptop with the flexibility of a tablet at surface.com. Hey, Chargers fans, you want to eat? Uber Eats, now available for in-stadium pickup. Order all of your stadium favorites from your seat with the Uber Eats app. Just set your location to SoFi Stadium, select your favorites, and you'll receive a notification when your order is ready for pickup. There are many mouth-watering options in SoFi Stadium. Let the stadium rumble, not your stomach. Go Chargers. VIP ticket packages for the first ever Super Bowl in Las Vegas are now on sale. And Only On Location offers all-inclusive experiences worthy of the entertainment capital of the world. Ticket packages boast an array of offerings, such as premium seating to the game, epic pregame parties with headline talent, NFL legend appearances, premium drinks and fare, and much more. Visit NFLOnLocation.com or search NFL On Location today. Your football experience of a lifetime awaits, only with On Location. So, Money, the Detroit Lions playing really good football. They got destroyed in Baltimore a few weeks ago. But other than that, they've dominated their opponents. I think their other loss was an overtime loss to Seattle. Coming off a bye. Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back to Los Angeles. Jared Goff coming back to Los Angeles. And this will be the test. Offensive and defensive-wise, the Lions, very stout. We mentioned all the weapons earlier at the top of this podcast. What do you need to see from the Chargers just as a leaping off point?
Well, you look at the Baltimore game, and one thing certainly jumps out, and that's 5 sacks, and that they were in the backfield regularly. This is one of the best offensive lines in football. You look at the pressure rates. It all starts with Penei Sewell, who's established himself as one of the better, if not, one of the best left tackles in football. You've got Decker, you've got Ragnar, and you've got a pretty well-stacked offensive line that's playing very well. And it's important for them to do that because, this goes back to his time with the Rams, and fair or not, it was always sort of, I don't want to call it a knock, but very similar to the conversation around Derek Carr. Jared Goff doesn't like to get hit. I know no quarterback likes to get hit, but when they start getting hit, the clock really starts speeding up and things start changing a little bit. So to me, that's where it all starts. And I think that's what Baltimore was able to do. They were able to get pressures. They were able to get quarterback hits. They were able to get sacks. And I think that helped change the tone of the game. It's not going to be easy. Like I said, they've got an exceptional running game. And you know what? I'm happy David Montgomery's back because you know what? Give him all the carries you want. Don't give it to Jahmyr Gibbs. My goodness. That dude has looked every bit worth the 12th pick for all the incoming they took. He is electric with the ball in his hands in the passing game, in the running game. So, yes, welcome back, David Montgomery. He's been a great runner. Don't get me wrong. Guy's got 6 touchdowns. He's a physical runner. But I will take that every day and twice on Sunday over Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's certainly something that – and that's what makes them such a good offense, right, is they have the running game. So now the play action's working. Jared Goff has established that very similar connection he had with Tyler Higbee in Los Angeles. He really liked using his tight ends, and you're seeing that with Sam Laporta. So, look, if you were asking me, I'm doing a very similar thing that I did against the Jets, and that is Derwin James is in the box a lot. He is playing right up on the line of scrimmage a lot. I don't even mind sticking him on Laporta for a little while and just take him away and don't give Goff that safety valve that he's been looking for in a lot of these games, especially on third down. Almost every third down, I'd be like, hey, Derwin, just go find Laporta and stick there and just take him out of the play. And you saw, they mixed up who was covering Garrett Wilson, but it was mostly Mikey. It was mostly Michael Davis. And he was playing press, and Garrett Wilson's not the most physical. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a much more physical receiver than Garrett is. If there's one knock on Garrett, is he's a bit slight and he can get pushed around. That's not the case. Amon-Ra's thick. He's a very strong receiver, so that may not work as well, but he's not as athletic. So now that's what makes Michael Davis such a great weapon is not only, is he physical at the point of attack, but he's also got 4.4 speed. Oh, and by the way, he's 6'1", and he's got these giant freaking levers that he can use. So I think that's probably how I'd approach it, is a lot of Michael Davis on Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of Derwin James on the line of scrimmage, and I'd like to see him on Laporta on third downs. And, this is a sort of an old-fashioned SEC game. Hey, we know what you're going to do. You know what we're going to do, and let's see which line wins. Does your O-line beat our D-line? Does our O-line beat your D-line? Whichever team comes out ahead, I think, in those categories, the pass rush and the pass protect is probably going to get out with a win. But it ain't going to be easy. This is a top 6 defense, top 5 offense. Yeah. So it's not going to be easy.
Money, this is the ultimate measuring stick now for this defense because the Lions' offense couldn't be more different than what they saw on Monday night. Goff is playing among the best in the NFC at the quarterback position. You mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Laporta, the rookie, has been fantastic. I remember DJ was so high on Laporta coming out of the draft, and the Lions echoed that when they selected him in the second round before Mayer, I believe. The two-headed attack with Gibbs and Montgomery. They got speed in Jamison Williams, Josh Reynolds, a guy that Goff had with the Rams. So the offensive line compared to the Jets, maybe the best unit in the league versus the worst unit in the league. So
I just pulled it up, Chris. Let me go through it real quick. Here's what you're talking about with this offensive line. Penei Sewell, right? 323 pass block snaps. 323 has allowed 7 pressures.
Justin Herbert benefited from that in Oregon.
Exactly. Frank Ragnow, 284 pass snaps, 3.2% pressure rate. He's allowed 9 pressures. Glasgow has allowed 15 on 262. Decker has allowed 14 on 247. This is a really good offense. I mean, their pressure rates are minuscule. It's 2.2, 3.2, 5.7, 5.7, 7.4 across the board. It's an exceptional offensive line. But I think the Chargers have 3 players that are going to end up at double-digit sacks. I fully believe that Thule is going to end up at 10, and obviously with 9 already, it feels like Khalil Mack very well could get there this week. And Joey at 6.5, I'm just how much better he's looked these last 2 weeks. So when you're talking about 3 guys on the line of scrimmage, and we've seen them on the line of scrimmage at the same time now quite a bit, that to me can overcome that. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's the strength versus strength, and which one of those 2 units gets out ahead, because I think that's going to go a long way dictating how this thing turns out.
It's a Romo Nance game too, right?
Yeah, they made it so it's another national game basically. If unless you have a game in your home market, this is going to be the one that's shown to the nation. So for the 4th time in 5 weeks, technically 6 because of the bye, but for the 4th time in 5 games, the Chargers are the national game. Whether it's in prime time or in this case, the Nance Romo game that gets broadcast to the entire nation, unless your home market team is playing at the same time, which there aren't many.
So, Money, offensively, this is where I think the Joshua Palmer injury, and, we didn't even talk about this last week because it happened late. He was placed on IR, so he's going to be gone for, I think, the next 3 games. Not having him, Quentin and Sauce were matched up a bunch last Monday night, and he only had, I think, 3 targets maybe.
2. Yeah, 3 targets, 2
catches
catches.
for 14 yards, right?
But he had his best catch of the year.
Yeah, offensively, it's going to have to be different. They're going to have to score some points. Austin Ekeler and Joshua Kelly are going to have to run the football effectively, and Justin is going to have to put up some points because the Lions will.
I don't expect Coach Staley to say this in a press conference, because why would you give away a game plan to an opponent? But man, I have to believe. I just don't know how you don't watch the film the last 2 weeks, and even though I think it's a total of 9 carries, how you don't come away with, we got to get Joshua Kelly the ball more, and we got to just get a north-south running game going, and we have got to get him the edges, the edge. It's the stretch runs, they're just not working. But when Joshua gets the ball and he's running in the A or the B gap, it works. It works for 4 to 6 yards every time. And I just feel like with how unsuccessful the running game has been, why not give that a go? Why not give that the 15 carries and give Austin the 6? Because Austin's going to get the 10 targets and make that part. Do the Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott approach. Have them both out there. Have them, on each side of Herbert, and then next thing you know, Austin's in motion out to the slot to one of these sides, and let a linebacker try to match up with him, and then the defense has got to figure out, all right, is it a pass, is it a run, what are they doing, or keep them both back there. And now Austin's just kind of floating into the flat on a smoke route, and maybe it's a delayed handoff. I just feel like there's more they can do with Joshua Kelly, because he's been rushing for 6.5 yards per carry these last couple games, and Austin's rushing, and it's nothing against Austin. It's the whole operation. They're getting no push. The O-line is getting almost no push in the run game right now. So to me, it's the old music business thing that we used to say when, our bands would play these radio shows. It's like, hey, you know what? Just play the hits. I know you want to let them know how dynamic and creative you are, and you've got this really good song that you love, but just play the hits. That's what the people want to hear. That's how you'll be successful. Go in there, play your 3 hits, high five everyone, get out, and let's sell a couple 100,000 records. And that to me is, right now in the running game, those are the hits. Between the tackles, don't be looking for 15 and 20. Let's look for 5. Let's look for 5 yards, not 0. Not 2nd and 9, not 3rd, not a first down run, and now it's 2nd and 12. To me, that's the one thing I wouldn't mind seeing more of against the Lions, because you got to get these guys on their heels. Aiden Hutchinson's too good. I mean, his pressure rate's at 17%, his win percentage is at 20. The guy's got 52 pressures. 52. Let me just try to put that in context at how dominant the Chargers' pass rush has been this season. So let's go total pressures. Aiden's got 52. Next best between these two teams, Khalil Mack at 40. Okay? Thule at 30, Joey Bosa at 25. Now, Joey's missed a couple games. I mean, Aiden's had 306 pass rushes compared to just 213 for Thule, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'm talking about, let's just go by win percentage, right? So you're not talking about totals. Win percentage, Joey Bosa 16.2%, Thule 12.2%, Khalil Mack 17%, Aiden Hutchinson 20%. Wow. So that's how dominant of a pass rusher they're facing. Someone that's had a better season than Khalil, Joey, or Thule, and that's what they'll have to contend with.
I agree with you in terms of getting Kelly the handoffs. I don't look at Austin. Austin, you look at in touches, right? And
right.
A couple of weeks ago, effective 7 for 94 through the air. Joshua, get him the ball, make it a 1-2 punch, and let Austin be an effective pass catcher. Now, I think he had a couple of drops on Monday night, but you never see that.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, right. It was uncharacteristic of number 30. But I'm with you. Get Joshua Kelly the ball. He had that big 49-yard touchdown against the Chiefs. You only gave it to him 3 times on Monday night. So I think that's as they try to continue to figure out this offense with guys going down, man. Like, all right, Mike goes down, so Joshua Palmer, let's elevate him and get him more involved. Josh goes down. It was hard to kind of distinct what was going on Monday night because the Jets' defense has been so dominant. But now you kind of have to pivot again. And I'm with you. Play the hits, but maybe you find a new release in one of the tight ends or somebody that can match the firepower that the Lions have. And I think, to your point, Money, having a 1-2 punch in the running game similar to a Montgomery Gibbs could be something that the Chargers look to as we get into games against the Lions, the Packers, and then, of course, that huge Sunday night game against the Ravens.
They're going to have to score points. That's the thing. This isn't the Jets, so they're going to have to score points. And remember, they did it against the Bears. They did it with ease against the Bears. The Bears' defense is not the Lions' defense, that's for sure. But I'm saying I think because of our recency bias is the Jets game. Like, let's not forget, this team put up 17 in the first half against the Chiefs. Whatever unraveled in the second half, don't know. But we know they can do it because they did it with explosives in that first half against the Chiefs. They did it against the Bears. It was an Austin Ekeler game, right, in the passing attack. They did it enough against the Jets, but they put up over 30 against the Dolphins. Like, that's, I think, what they put up 24.5 against the Raiders. The offense is still good. The offense still has Justin Herbert. It still has Austin Ekeler. I wish I had some, the old, I'm going to give a dated reference. I wish, inner space, I could go inside the brain of Rashawn Slater to figure out how hurt is he, because he's such a warrior. He'll never let you know. Yeah. Every time we see him, he's like, no, dude, I'm good. He's never going to make an excuse, but clearly he's not right. I just would love to know what percentage not right he is, because it just hasn't looked the same since the Raider game. So, they're going to have to figure it out. And, you brought up Q. That catch he made is the best catch I've seen him make all season. The catch he made for the first down, when he went up, it's the first time that I've just seen him get his hands in front of him and snatch the ball and use that big body of his to block off his defender, got perfect position, snatched the ball, and then pushed his body forward for the first down because he was catching it right at the sticks. It was just such a great rep for him. It was, where are the sticks? Okay, now I'm going to get my break. Ball has already been released. Locate the ball, get my hands out there, snatch it, secure it to my body, and now let me use my physicality to push forward to make sure we get the first down. I thought there was the back shoulder throw for the first down 2 games ago against the Bears. That was great. This was it. Like, go back and watch that catch, people, because it was impressive. And I think when you just get a little flash like that, it's all you need to see. That's how you build trust. Like, oh, okay, that was a third down. That was a critical catch. I zipped it in there, and he didn't bobble it. He didn't gather. He ran the exact route he was supposed to. The timing was perfect, and he used his physicality to get that first down. I think that goes a long way. I really do with this relationship. And look, it has to. They're going to need it. They're going to need Quentin. They're going to need Gerald Everett. They're going to need Donald Parham, because there is there's no Mike Williams, and now there's no Josh Palmer for the next 4 weeks, and no Mike Williams for the rest of the year. So I know Jalen Guyton was out there. Maybe he just had to shake off the rust in that Jet game, and now we can see a little bit more of that. Yeah, it was great to see him out there. But, those guys are going to have to do something, and more than something. They're going to have to do a lot.
Specifically money in the second half of games, because we've seen them kind of sputter out in the second half, and it was similar on Monday night. They only scored that touchdown at the end of the fourth quarter, I think, because of a turnover courtesy of the defense. So if you're going to score with the Lions, you're going to have to do it for all 4 quarters. And I think that's one of the I think the keys to the game is to have a consistent 4 quarters of offense, not 17 points in the first half and then we didn't figure it out again in the second half. Like the second half offense and whatever combination that they need to use and whoever they need to feature, they're going to have to score points in the fourth quarter to beat the Lions.
No doubt, and that's something that's plagued them. The second half scoring. You've got to make it, and to me, Chris, that's such a big part of just the running game, right? Like they have these leads, and they're trying to run the ball, and that's what's leading to the failures on offense in the second half. First half it's all gas. Let's gas it up, man. Let's get some points on the board. Let's see if we can get a lead. Let's allow our defense to pin their ears back and get after an offense in known passing situations, and then in the second half. Against the Bears, against the Raiders, they're trying to run a 4-minute offense, to which I would say run your 4-minute offense when there's 4 minutes on the clock. Until then, just keep playing. Just keep doing what you're doing instead of trying to make it happen. I just wanted to pull up the catch again to remind myself to make sure I had it right, because it might not have been the 3rd and 9 for Quentin. It very well could have been maybe it was this one. That's it. It was a 2nd and 6. So it's a 2nd and 6, and they're up 7-0. And Quentin, it's just, I would love if you people can find it. It's 3:52 left in the first quarter. So it's early. They're already up 7-0, right? And Quentin just, he's impressed. It's press coverage. He breaks his guy off with a double move, comes back to the ball, snatches it, and I want to just address it because it's a nothing play. Like there was nothing special about it. But man, when you watch it, you can just kind of see, like, okay, that's what we're looking for. He's not a guy that you want running the 9 routes and the goes. Like, this is what he does. Like, get him in the phone booth and allow him to use that physicality. I'm watching it again. He comes back, jumps, snatches, and just go back, check it out. Like, to me, there's something there. And I just feel like maybe I'm trying to manifest something. I don't know. But hey, I saw it. This is the step. This is where it goes. So we'll see. Because like I said, it has to happen. There's no choice now. It's one thing when Mike goes down and you got Josh Palmer, who's a legit number 2 receiver to Keenan Allen. When Josh Palmer comes down, okay, well, now you're the number 2. You have got to go out there. You're going to get 10 target, or you're going to get at least 8 targets. You got to catch 6 of them, and 4 of them are going to be on 3rd down to extend drives.
Money, I've used this as an example before. I just go back to 2018, that rookie class, and sometimes you don't know when you're going to have to rely upon a rookie to contribute and help you win games. And that 2018 season, Derwin James was an All-Pro his rookie year, so that's your first-round pick. Chenna, what he did in that Baltimore wildcard game. I remember Justin Jackson in Pittsburgh. Justin Jones started that Baltimore game. So you got contributions from your rookies at different parts of the season. And to see what Darius Davis did to help you win that game, to see what Thule's done for a large part of this season, now if we can get Quentin rolling at some point, this would be a nice start on Sunday with Palmer down against a Lions team you're going to have to score against. And then let's get Henley some more snaps, because I tell you
100%. 100%.
Once Deion gets rolling, I guarantee it'd be tough to take him out of the lineup.
100%. You can see it. It's now been 2 games where he's played. You want to know why they didn't score a touchdown at the end of that game? That's a big part of it right there. Deion Henley is a big part of it right there, and there's a reason why they ended up with 8 sacks and not 7, because Deion was chasing down Zach Wilson and essentially said, "You want some of this, old man?" And Zach Wilson said, "Nope," and stepped out of bounds and took the sack. And it's just a different level of athleticism that he provides. And I think against an explosive offense like the Lions, I'll be interested to see, how, especially on third down, with all the options they have, all the weapons they have, how Coach Staley wants to play it. And if you could see Deion maybe coming on for EK in those third down obvious passing situations, I think you could make a case for it, based on what he's shown so far, just how much faster he looks and how physical he is when he's on the field. So, and I think a lot of that just comes down to trust that he's going to be in the right place, that he knows the calls, that he knows his assignments. It's a complicated defense, and hopefully that trust is there, because certainly the ability is there.
Money, let's close on this. I'm looking at the AFC standings. 13 teams have 4 wins. The 3 that don't, Tennessee, who the Chargers lost to, Denver, who has come on as of late, and New England, who the Chargers will face next month, 2-7. I'm looking at the teams that they have to play. So Baltimore in a couple of weeks, they're 7-2. They're looking good right now in the North. Buffalo later in December, that's going to be a huge game. They're 5-4. Getting the tiebreaker against the Jets. Now somebody mentioned to us that, hey, you remember in 2017 where they beat the Bills 54-24 and they didn't get the head-to-head? There was some weird like 3-way tie stuff going on there. So in large part,
it was conference games. Yeah,
it was conference games. So in large part, the head-to-head is all you need. But sometimes when there are like 3-way ties and 4-way ties, conference games. So, Vegas is smoking cigars after beating the New York Giants and Tommy DeVito. Do they have a run in them? I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a fun second half of the year when you look at the AFC and see that there are 13 teams right now kind of vying for those 3 wildcard spots and obviously the 4 division winners.
They have 2 tough games in the next 3 weeks, right? So, and look, you have to go on the road to Green Bay. By no means is that an easy trip or an easy win. No, there are no easy wins. But, this is a team that was 0-2, 2-2, 2-4, 4-4. I'm not saying they're going to alternate 2-game win streaks and losing streaks and finish 9-8 or 8-9. But, this is a team that believes in itself right now. And in order to carry that, you know what the national narrative is, and it's fair because it's true. Team was, prior to last week, and now the Jets are 4-4, so I don't know if that counts as a team with a winning record anymore, but you played them when they had it. So let's just say they were a team with a winning record. Going back to the start of 2022, the Chargers are now 2-9 against teams with winning records in the regular season. 2-9. So just bust that narrative, bust that conversation and get it to stop by beating the Lions, beating the Packers, and getting ready for a Baltimore team that a lot of people think is the best in football right now. So they still have tough games. Lions, Baltimore, Chiefs, Bills, and they also have some games that you feel like should lean in their favor. Patriots, Packers, 2 against Denver, Raiders.
Always split against Denver, too. They always split against Denver.
This is the year they can't split against Denver. This is the year they got to sweep Denver. So, and it's not easy. It's a tough place to play. Sean Payton's, as much as I don't like saying it, he's a good coach. And, maybe they figured some stuff out. They weathered the storm early. We'll see. What's the schedule this week? What do we got as we look around? Because, look, the AFC, so you got Denver, the Bengals, Buffalo, and Texans, right? Yeah. So Denver, Bengals, Texans. Big one. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, look at the loss column. One of those teams is going to, the Bengals are either going to be 5-4, and so are the Texans, or the Texans are going to be 4-5. The Jags have to play the 49ers. The Browns and Ravens are playing each other. So now the Ravens are either 7-3 or the Browns are 5-4. The Jets and Raiders are playing each other. So one of those teams is going to be incredibly disappointed. The Jets, after winning 3 in a row, maybe on a 2-game losing streak, or the Raiders, get their pop from the interim head coach, that's got all the juice and energy and everybody's feeling good. And you know how that works. It always happens where they get that first win, it seems like, with the interim head coach. Well, can he do what Rich Bisaccia did? And that's carry this and stack some wins there in Las Vegas. So, and then you have the Broncos and Bills on Monday night. And there's so many people pointing to the Bills and saying, hey, that was PI on Darren Waller. That should have been a loss. That's in the end zone, assuming the Giants score from the 1, and who knows if they do, but you know what I'm saying. And then, hey, Chris Godwin, locate the ball. You're wide open. You win that game on a Hail Mary. So it's like the Bills, there's a lot of detractors there as well. So every team has flaws. To me, there are no dominant teams this year in the NFL, in the AFC. Like, everybody's got issues. As good as the Ravens are, as good as the Chiefs are, I think you feel like, okay, they're beatable. I think they're beatable. So see if we can finally get some help. It hasn't really come. The AFC has played the NFC like entirely, and the AFC has swept the NFC on what seems like multiple occasions this season. So let's see if the Packers can knock off the Steelers, if the 49ers can knock off the Jaguars and get some of these NFC teams to get some action against the AFC.
Yeah, the Jets game was big, not only for the head-to-head, but just the conference. You don't want to go 1-4 in your conference because you're not winning any tiebreaker when it comes down to Week 18. 2-3 in the conference now. An NFC team comes into town. You play 2 NFC teams in consecutive weeks, and then that Baltimore game, Money. I think Baltimore is probably playing better than anybody in football right now. But
I think so.
AFC North is so tight.
Right.
I look at Cincinnati right now. I feel like they're about to go on a run, and they could still snag the North, which means a head-to-head against the Ravens would go a long way too if it ever came down to that. So
here's the thing. So the Bengals still have Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland one more time, right? Yeah. So they've got 3 division games left. The Browns still have Steelers once, Bengals once, and I think that's it. Yeah, so that's it. So they only have 2 more division games, and then the Ravens, if I'm right, I think they have 4. The Ravens have Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. So they have 3 as well. So those, and then Pittsburgh. Yeah, so they got 3. So those teams, they're gonna knock each other out. Like, one of those teams, if not 2, are going to have issues because of all these head-to-heads. So, I can't see Baltimore sweeping Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and you feel the same way, about the others. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. But I'm with you. Joe Burrow and the Bengals went 1-3 in the first 4 weeks of the season because he was on one leg, and now he's not. And look what they're doing. I mean, they hammered the 49ers, and when they needed it, they got it, against the Bills. So
that's the AFC North. If it ended today, all 4 teams would be in, but you just mentioned it. They're going to start beating each other up. Right now, Buffalo is on the outside looking in, Houston, and then the Chargers. So, those 3 teams, is Buffalo going to take a step back this year? They have some tough games coming up too, by the way, if you look at Buffalo's schedule. Then Houston, very young team. I think I've already exceeded expectations. We'll see if they can sustain it, but CJ Stroud, Rancho Cucamonga's finest, is
right.
Having an unbelievable
he looks
rookie
great.
season. Unbelievable. And then the Chargers, 4-4, right above the Jets, who they beat. So Chargers right in the middle of this thing, and it'll start Sunday in terms of getting over 500. Money. Anything else from this Lions game you want to hit on before we get out of here?
No, I think we hit it all. I really do. It's going to be a tough game. I'll add this. If you're going to the game, you're probably going to be in for a treat. I was talking to someone from the Chargers, and they said that demand for this game is higher than the Cowboys Monday Night Football game.
Wow.
That's how hot this ticket is because, hey, if you're in Detroit, why wouldn't you want to come to Los Angeles? Your team hasn't been good in 2 decades, and you get to get out of Detroit, Michigan, and go to L.A., so demand's going to be there. Charger fans, you've got, you're back to that Sunday late window, which everybody likes. Not that they don't like prime time, but it makes it a little bit more challenging because of work and things like that, in school. But it's going to be packed. It's going to be high energy. It's going to be electric, and it's going to feel like a playoff game, which is essentially what they have the remainder of the way. A bunch of playoff games.
That's right. Romo Nance on the call on television. Yeah. If you want to turn them down and put on Money and DJ, though, we wouldn't be mad at all.
No. We appreciate that.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week as the Chargers get ready for the Packers, but it's Detroit on Sunday. For Money, I'm Chris.